you put them together is that the rules of the game they fundamentally changed for job seekers.
In what way?
Well, we're so past the era of just, simple keyword stuffing. This market right now, it's all about a pivot toward deep credibility signals.
Credibility signals.
That is the single most important coaching point for this quarter.
And that's exactly what's so hard for clients to establish right now. I mean, they're wasting massive amounts of time chasing roles that might not even be real.
The ghost job economy.
The ghost jobs. And at the same time, they're trying to get through this really complex and unforgiving technical gauntlet of AI screeners. We've got to help them cut through all that noise.
And regain some control.
Yes. So, okay, let's unpack that chaos, starting with the ghost jobs. The data on this is, it's just incredibly frustrating.
It really is.
Roughly a third of all U.S. job listings, they just don't result in a hire.
And this isn't a new thing, a temporary blip. This phantom gap has been so stubborn, it's been hovering between 28 and 32% since 2021.
Right. It's hard data we have to face. When you look at the numbers, like from this past June, employers posted, 7.4 million openings?
And only made 5.2 million hires.
So that leaves 2.2 million roles that are either just impossible to fill or, and this is more likely, they were never really meant to be filled in the first place.
And just think about the psychological impact of that on your clients. They're applying relentlessly to these roles that are basically mirages.
And you have to coach them on this, especially if they're in certain fields, because this gap is not at all evenly distributed.
No, it's huge in some places.
Government leads the pack with a stunning 60% gap. 60.
Wow.
Education and health, that's at 50%. Information at 48%. And then financial activities at 44%.
So if you're coaching professionals in those areas, you have to just get out ahead of that frustration and manage it.
You have to. And, we have to understand the causes. It's not always some kind of corporate malice.
Well, it's a mix, right? It's a blend of things. You have structural challenges. It's just plain hard to find very specialized talent.
Sure.
Then you have administrative delays where a posting just stays up forever. And yes, sometimes it is intentional. They're overposting to build huge candidate pools for jobs that don't exist yet.
It's all just friction, and our clients are caught right in the middle of it.
Exactly. But now, here's where the paradox really comes in. And this is what I find so fascinating.
Okay.
Despite all of that, the market stagnation, the ghost jobs, the uncertainty, we're still seeing what we call enduring candidate power.
And I find this data so counterintuitive because employers, they expect candidates to be desperate, right?
They do. They expect them to take lower pay, to be searching like crazy.
But the data from Hunter shows the complete opposite is happening. Job searching has sharply declined. The number of candidates spending more than 5 hours a week searching, it dropped from almost half, 49% back in Q1 2023, all the way down to just 29% in Q2 of this year. They're applying less, not more.
Because they're being incredibly discerning, and they feel they have leverage. If you look at what candidates actually prioritize, a Gartner survey showed 53% cite higher compensation as their #1 reason for accepting an offer.
They know what they're worth.
They do. And this patience, it's reflected in the offer acceptance rates. They plunged from a high of 75% earlier this year down to just 51% in the second quarter.
So they're just willing to wait.
They're willing to wait for the job that meets their expectations. Maybe it's because of savings, maybe internal mobility, or just a desire for better work-life balance. Whatever it is, they are not desperate.
And that patience is such crucial context for the hiring timeline data. You really have to communicate this to your clients immediately.
It's so important for managing expectations.
The median time to the first offer has gone up by a staggering 22%. It's now sitting at 68.5 days.
68 days. And here's the really emotional part of that number.
Go on.
The wait after the final interview is nearly twice as long as the wait for the interviews.
Really?
11 days after versus 6 days before. This is the silence that just breaks job seekers.
That's the part where they think they've been ghosted for good.
Exactly. So we have to coach our clients that this long, quiet period after the final stage is now the norm. It's not a subtle rejection. It's just the slow mechanics of this market.
Okay, so if the ghost jobs are wasting their time, the hiring timeline is testing their patience, how do we make sure that the time they do spend applying actually gets them somewhere?
Now we get to the gatekeepers.
The new, powerful technical gatekeepers, the AI and the ATS.
And this is where Marie Zimenoff's insights become just essential. because she explains why the old strategy is failing.
Right.
We know the setup. 73% of recruiters use an applicant tracking system. Job boards are still a big deal, despite what some people say.
And recruiters are using sophisticated sourcing tools, LinkedIn Recruiter, Seek Out, all of that.
But Zimanoff says this reliance on tools has created what she calls a signaling crisis.
A signaling crisis, I like that.
The simple act of keyword optimization, what we all used to coach, is now too easy. AI makes it so simple to recognize synonyms and phrases that suddenly every single applicant just sounds the same.
So the low-effort person who just stuffed their resume with keywords is now indistinguishable from the person who's actually qualified.
Precisely. The systems had to evolve because the inputs became too noisy. They've moved beyond just matching text.
So what are they doing now?
They're using what's called semantic search. It's based on patterns and vectors. Think of it like this. Keywords are like searching for one single lyric in a song.
Okay.
Semantic search is like using Shazam. It analyzes the entire sonic signature, the whole pattern of skills and context, to identify what it really is.
That is a brilliant way to put it. So the AI isn't just looking for the words project management.
No.
It's looking for the pattern of execution, coordination, timeline adherence, team size, even if you use totally different words to describe it.
Exactly. And Zimanoff points out that this can actually be a huge benefit for your career-changing clients.
How so?
Well, if the AI is looking at the patterns of skills used, the transferable skills, rather than just being stuck on job titles or industries, it can open up completely new doors for someone transitioning.
And the adoption rates for this tech are really high. An Insight Global survey said 92% of hiring managers are using AI for screening resumes or for pre-screening interviews.
Now, that figure does feel a bit high. Zimanoff warns us to be cautious there, suggesting it might just reflect a technical bias in this survey itself.
Sure, maybe not every small business is using this level of tech.
But the key takeaway, the thing Zimanoff stresses, is this. Automated rejection is still rare. These tools are mostly used to filter and rank candidates.
So the challenge isn't just avoiding the no pile.
The challenge is making sure the resume's achievements align in context with that pattern recognition. It's way beyond just simple keyword compliance now.
So if we accept that reality that AI is looking for these patterns of credibility, how do we translate that into an actionable resume strategy?
This is where Zimanoff's concepts become your client's real competitive advantage.
Let's get into it.
Okay, the central, most definitive credibility signal we have to enforce is what she calls the accomplishment-to-duty ratio.
The accomplishment-to-duty ratio, I love that.
It's now more critical than ever. It is not enough to just list duties. Resumes have to have real-life examples, hard quantification, industry signals, and the details that show how a candidate did the work.
So let's give a tangible example of that. It's not enough to say, manage social media channels. That's a duty.
That's a duty, no credibility.
A strong accomplishment story using that ratio would be something like, increased organic engagement across 3 platforms by 40% in 6 months by leveraging a data-driven content schedule.
Yes. That detail is what the pattern recognition AI and the human who reads it next actually needs. That level of detail proves the accomplishment is real.
Right.
And speaking of things that irritate the human reader, Zimanoff has some strong advice about soft skills.
I think I know where this is going.
Avoid listing them in the skills section, even if they are a perfect match for the job description.
Okay, so why do we avoid listing things like communication or collaboration? They're critical traits.
Because without any context, the human reader, as she puts it, gags on all this fluff.
Ah, that's blunt.
When you just list strategic thinker or team player, it has zero credibility. Those skills have to be woven into the achievement stories themselves.
So you show collaboration. You don't just say it.
You show how you collaborated to achieve a quantified result. That is the credibility signal. The word itself is not.
And another point that supports this idea of being concise comes from Huntra on the summary section.
The summary, yeah.
You need to coach your clients that the summary must be the TLDR, too long, didn't read. It has to be ruthlessly efficient. No fluff, no adjectives.
And the data proves it. Interviewed candidates wrote shorter summaries, 524 characters versus 568 for those who didn't get an interview.
But they were more likely to include one.
Right. They summarized their value efficiently. They treated it like a professional executive summary, not an obituary.
Okay, and for years we've all fought the one-page resume myth, right? It's been the bane of experienced job seekers and resume writers.
Please tell me we can finally put this to bed.
We can bust that myth with hard data. The data shows that 2-page resumes actually had the highest success rate, a 3.69% interview conversion,
Higher than one page.
slightly higher. One-pagers were at 3.36%, and interviewed candidates, on average, had resumes that were 1.71 pages long.
So it's confirmed. A slightly longer resume that actually showcases detailed, quantified experience, that high accomplishment-to-duty ratio is better.
Quality over quantity wins.
Mm.
And sometimes quality needs that second page.
And we even see that quality mantra in the bullet points. Interviewed candidates wrote fewer but more detailed achievements.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they averaged about 4.3 achievements per job at 164 characters each, compared to almost 5 achievements at 161 characters for the others.
So it's about depth, not just density.
Exactly.
And the highest leverage tool of all, it's still tailoring. This completely supports the whole pattern recognition strategy.
It has to.
The data shows tailored resumes drive a 2.1 times higher interview conversion rate, 5.75% versus 2.68%.
That is a massive difference.
It's huge. You have to tell your clients, if you're applying less, which the data says they are, those few applications have to be deeply customized.
And to tie this all back to Zimanoff's credibility concept, it goes beyond the resume. That pattern recognition extends to a person's entire professional presence.
What do you mean?
You have to encourage your clients to be active on industry association websites, company forums, professional social platforms like LinkedIn. All those activities build these necessary credibility markers that the sourcing tools are looking for. It extends the pattern beyond just that one document.
And building that presence, that naturally leads us into networking. Because while online applications are a necessity, you have to coach clients that they can't just rely on them.
No, the data is too clear. 40% of hires are referrals. 80% of hiring teams prefer them.
So Zimanoff suggests clients need to fundamentally shift their mindset.
Away from that transactional, hey, do you have a job for me approach,
To what?
to one of community building, learning, genuine connection. It's about gathering information, not just demanding a referral on the first contact.
Okay, so let's get practical. For the warm network strategy people they already know, what's the advice?
Make the ask low friction. Give your connections 3 specific ways they can help.
Plagias.
Share your target company list. Ask for contacts in that area. Or just ask for new companies to add to the list. It's easy for the other person to do.
I like that. And for cold outreach.
Zimanoff offers this vital pro tip, and it acknowledges just how overloaded everyone is right now.
Right.
If a person you're targeting isn't posting or commenting on LinkedIn at least once every other week, send them an email or call them. Don't use an in-mail.
Why not?
They're just not checking that cold LinkedIn inbox. Your client's effort will be completely wasted.
That's a great tactical tip. Now, what about the passively searching client? The one who's happy but open to something better.
They need to be very smart about their personal branding. Inc. magazine advises them to completely avoid the hashtag open to work banner.
Right, because that just signals urgency and need.
And that psychologically makes them look less valuable when it comes time to negotiate.
So instead, they should use the private open to new opportunities setting.
Exactly. It's invisible to recruiters at their current company, but it alerts all the outside recruiters that they're willing to listen.
And when a recruiter does call, the client should position themselves as open to listening, but not in a rush.
Yes. That psychological positioning puts them in control right away. It often leads to stronger offers because they just don't appear needy.
Okay, we also have to touch on the oopsie job, that role that lasts, less than 3 months.
What's the advice there?
Generally, it can just be left off the resume entirely. But if your client has to address it in an interview, the explanation needs to be concise and positive.
So no bad-mouthing the old company.
Never. Focus on fit and strategy. Something like, my priorities shifted to a company where I realized I could create more impact. Or, the role evolved outside my core skill set, and I made a quick, strategic decision to find a better long-term alignment.
And the key is to never burn bridges. Leave professionally. Document your small wins and support your colleagues on the way out.
Absolutely. Finally, you have to remind your clients that they hold enormous leverage when it comes to location flexibility.
That candidate power we talked about at the start, it's directly tied to this. 83% of job seekers prefer remote or hybrid.
And this preference is actively moving talent around. Companies that embrace flexibility are, as Deal noted, leaking talent from their competitors. I mean, look at Dropbox. They saw a nearly 7-fold increase in applicants per job after they adopted a virtual first model.
7 times. That's incredible.
So flexibility isn't a perk anymore. It's a non-negotiable credential for a modern job search.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, the core shifts you have to communicate to your clients are really twofold.
Go for it.
First, the job market has moved definitively away from keyword density and toward credibility, and that's built through detailed achievement stories, that critical accomplishment to duty ratio.
And second,
Success demands intentional networking, viewing that outreach as community building, not just a transactional ask for a job.
okay, now we know from the data that 68% of candidates would accept a job offer from an AI-only hiring process. They want that efficiency.
They do.
But we also know that nearly half of all job seekers report facing age discrimination, often masked by being told they're overqualified. The human element and its biases, they're still very much there.
So given that both AI and human gatekeepers are screening your clients, one is screening for efficiency and patterns, the other is often screening with conscious or unconscious bias, we want to leave you with this final question.
How do you coach your clients to leverage AI tools for the speed and efficiency they demand without sacrificing the authenticity and the deep credibility signals they need to successfully clear that human bias hurdle?
Think about what that means for how you teach story building and strategic outreach in this new market.